Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. First of all, I want to thank y'all for buying my book, Some Will, Some Won't, So What, Who's Next, which is in book form. It's the stuff that I teach my clients. It's how to sell and not be salesy, how to be yourself and sell. Now, that doesn't mean just go, some people are like, I just go tell the truth. Well, that's great, but there is strategy involved so that you can connect with the person that you're talking to. In this book, you can, for $20, get what other people pay a hell of a lot more than that, right? To get my one-on-one or group coaching. So go buy the book from Amazon, go buy the book from my website, either place. It costs $20. And here's the promise. If you read this book and you don't find something in here that will make you your $20 back, let me know and I'll give you your money back. A lot of my friends are buying this book for their kids. Quite frankly, that's a great audience of mine. I wish that I could get my hands on most kids who are 22 to 30, because if I can help them get their head right around sales early on, it can save them a lot of trouble. And also it can help them move way forward in their career. They don't have to flounder around like I did for so long until I figured it out. So go buy the book. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? If you've been one of those that have already bought it, do me a huge favor and go to Amazon and review it. Just go back to the page where you bought the book, scroll the bottom, click here where it says review this book, and leave me a quick review. Tell people what you think. The more reviews I get, the higher Amazon posts it organically, which is great. And so the more views we get, the more books we sell. Just know I make about $6 a book. And so if I sell it's like 8,000 of these things and I go back to even. But really the purpose of this is to get the ideas out there and to let people kind of know what good looks like. And I know that by putting that out in the world, good things come back to me too. So I wanted to, some of y'all know this. I've done like 500 podcast episodes in the last 5 years. I've done a ton. And each one that I do has to be inspired. It's got to come from somewhere. I don't have this script. I don't have anything that I work off of. So today I got inspired by something on LinkedIn. When I say inspired, I mean I got triggered. And so here's what triggered me, right? Somebody posted something nice, I think, about my book. And somebody wrote back in one of the comments, said, sales is easy. And I thought, okay, well, usually when somebody says something is easy, it means they've either never done it before or they don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? So and that always perks it up when sales is easy. And for some people, maybe they feel like it is. And so this guy, again, jumped in the comments further down and he said, all you got to do with sales is just ask people what you want, what's the problem they need to solve, and then shut up. And that's it. I'm like, well, okay, that's a start. That's better than a lot of people do. However, that's not really sales. Sales is having somebody trust you enough to give you money to make a problem go away. Sales is also preserving your time, not spending a whole lot of time with people who aren't ready for you yet. They don't have it. They're not committed enough to solve the problem. They don't have any money. They're not the right one to make the decision. They're not going to do anything for 3 years, right? Sales is having somebody trust you enough to give you money to make a problem go away. So let's talk about how sales is beyond, not a bad opening question. What do you hope, what was the problem you were hoping I could solve, was the way this guy framed it. I think a lot of people don't know their problem. And I think if we just take the problem they give us at face value, I think you're missing the boat. I think sometimes we can end up solving symptoms instead of the real problem. So you may take somebody's money and solve one of the symptoms, but not what's causing the problem. And that's where your real value can come in, right? They can buy shit from a website if all you need to say is, what problem can I solve? Maybe if you're the only person in the world who can do that, maybe that's great. And they have to have it. That's great. Okay. So let's pretend we start with that. First thing I want to know is, though, what are we doing here? What are we trying to decide in this meeting? What is the purpose of this meeting. And I don't necessarily mean, what are you trying to solve? It's, what is the thing we're trying to decide? And I would often suggest to my clients, my salespeople, the people that I work with, is to say, why don't we figure out whether or not there's a next step we can take? And depending upon your business, we can figure out what that next step would be, right? So in my world, it's decide whether or not you take an assessment, a skills assessment. And if at the end of this meeting, you don't want to hire me to do a skills assessment, we'll call it a no, move on, no big deal. Everybody then knows in the meeting what we're doing there and the decisions that be made. So let's pretend they agree to that. And then you say, okay, here's how I would phrase his comment better, his question better than how he did. He said, what problem you want me to solve? And I would say instead, hey, tell me something. What were you hoping we could talk about today to make this a good use of your time? What were you hoping we could talk about today, make a good use of your time? And when they're telling you those things, write them down, right? Because those are maybe symptoms or things that they want to talk about. It may not be the thing they want to solve yet. Maybe that's the thing they've come to you to solve. What were you hoping we could talk about today, right? And the next question might be is, are you okay if I ask you some questions around these subjects, which might include, kind of where you are now versus where you'd like to be, what you like about your current situation versus what you don't. I want to find out your budget, how much money you'd be willing to spend, and also about your decision-making process, how you would make a decision. You okay if we talk about those things, right? Lay this thing out professionally, right? Sales is easy means you're probably getting lucky, or you're doing a ton of free consulting, or you're not in front of very many people. And so therefore your hit rate is high, or you're not charging enough money. Now, once we kind of learn that stuff, get permission, then we want to figure out what is the problem. And we can't just say, what's your problem? I guess you can. It's not as effective. Some people are even worse. They go, what's your pain? I don't think people know their pain most of the time, right? We want to ask questions like, hey, let's pretend you hired me and it's a year from now. And you're saying, wow, so glad I did that. Worth every penny I paid. What would have to be better or different then for you to be able to say that, right? Or, that's just kind of a basic thing. But after you figure out the problem, and then you got to figure out, are they committed to fix it, right? Because we start with a problem, but every problem, then you got to identify what are the consequences of that problem. Right? The problem may be, I have a flat tire. The consequences of that problem are, I can't drive right now. My car won't go anywhere, right? Fine. Problem, consequences. But then we got to find the personal impacts of the consequences, which would be, got a flat tire, can't drive anywhere right now, can't change the tire, right? Personal impacts of that are, I'm stuck in the middle of the woods and I'm supposed to be at a doctor's appointment in 30 minutes and I can't get the lug nuts off my tire. If I don't get there, my wife will be pissed because I'm there to meet with her, blah, blah, blah. That's the thing. It's not the flat tire in that situation. It's how the hell does he get to his wife's doctor's appointment? Don't get stuck solving the flat tire. Solve the real problem. And then you got to find out, what's their budget? Not how much does it cost, but how much would they be ready, willing, and able to pay to make those personal impacts go away, right? And then the third part is, what's their decision-making process? When were they hoping to make a decision? Why then? Who else besides them is part of the process? What do they need to see or hear from you? Who else they talking to? How they're going to pick? And those are some starters. And after that, you got to figure out, how committed are they to fixing it? Because, man, I got a million problems. I don't know about you. I got a million. But I can only have so much bandwidth, time, give a shit to focus on more than 1, 2, or 3 at a time. And so how committed are they to fix it? Right? I got plenty of stuff that's a problem, but I'm not committed to fix it right now. I got other shit I got to do first. How much time can you waste with people who are interested and they'd love to know what you would do? But when they hear about the money or they see what's really involved, they go, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. When do you want to know that? Before or after you've done a damn proposal, giving away your information? I want to know beforehand. So, sure, sales is simple, but it's not easy. And what you'll find, like I do most of the time, is that the problem is not the prospect, it's not your product, it's you. That's what we need to work on, is ourselves. If you have a process that's working, great. Continue to work on refine. I've been in sales for 35 years. I've been doing training, coaching, consulting for 20 years, almost 21 now. I'm still refining my process. I'm still the problem. I'm still working to make it better, tighter for me every day. If you're in sales, the career that feeds your family, you probably ought to be doing the same thing. Happy to talk to you about that. If you want to, 803-917-2817. Buy my book. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? You can buy it at Amazon. And or share this podcast. Listen to this podcast. Share it with somebody else that needs to hear it. Thanks for listening. Please share this. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course, where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.